Hey, what's good, Nick? How you doing, man?
How's everybody doing? Good. So we got Benjamin here and we got Travis, yeah?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. You know what? I just want to say thank you for doing that because, we've had a lot of guests up here and like nobody has ever said our name. So we appreciate that, bro.
No problem.
We appreciate you finally having the time to come up here, man.
It's all good, yeah. I'm just happy to do as much fan reach out as possible. And yeah, it has been a very, very, very busy year of my life, but I try to make time whenever I can.
Yeah, man, because again, in the last 2 to 3 years, you've really built up your name in the video game community, with obviously with the hit that Resident Evil 2 was selling more copies than the actual original copy of it did, which is crazy, but that the Life is Strange series that you're a part of really kind of like blew up out of nowhere. I don't think nobody was expecting that game to be as popular as it became.
Well, I know that the first Life is Strange, like you said, like it blew up because it was kind of similar to the Telltale Walking Dead games. And, you were able to be in Life is Strange 2 and the Spirit. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. I was about to say the Spirit, like that movie.
Yeah, and also Before the Storm. That was the first one they did, was Before the Storm.
Right.
Yeah.
That came out before episode 2, and then Captain Spirit was sprinkled somewhere in between that. The timeline is hard to remember, but yeah, those projects were really fun.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that later on the episode. But before we get to that point of the episode, we want you to tell everybody your origin story.
Well, that's a big question. I can try to just keep it abbreviated. Origin in what way? Career-wise or?
No, tell us, when you were born. What was going on? Was it raining? Like what?
Oh, geez, I gotta go way back for that. Jeez.
No, man, what got you into acting, man? Is it something you wanted to always do as a kid, or?
Well, I grew up watching really cliche movies that guys typically like. I grew up on like the Rocky series and Indiana Jones.
That's a good series.
That's one of our favorite series.
Yeah, that like Indiana Jones was a big early inspiration for me, like Ninja Turtles, like movies like that, and then like Terminator, and then I was always like kind of an action fan, and then I never really considered acting. I didn't know what I wanted to do with life. I didn't know that would be like a career I could really pursue. So I went into like hospitality. I have a culinary degree. I thought I wanted to do that in high school. And then I went to hospitality. I worked in like Disney World. I was really good with people. And then when I was working in hotels and I was around people all the time, they would often ask me if I was an actor, or they said I should try acting because I come off in real life as very genuine. And they said that's what acting is all about, is just appearing to be genuine. Whether you are or not, but I did to these people, many, many, many people, and they just said, give it a shot. And then I started thinking like, well, geez, maybe I could get into like action movies. And so I started, and that was about a decade ago, and I haven't looked back.
That's a good origin story.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, you doing a lot of humanitarian work. I wanted to bring it up because, if anybody goes on your Instagram, you'll see you've been all over the place building stuff, helping people out in Cambodia, a lot of stuff over like in the Amazon and
everywhere,
all over Asia and stuff. And I actually know somebody who was in the Middle East and was helping put wells in, so people from these villages or whatever could get water without having to walk, spend their all day getting water.
We did that on episode 3 over a year ago.
And this is on the Fixers?
Yeah, actually, we were in Nicaragua doing that exact thing about 13 to 14 days before RE2 released to the public. That was in January 11th, 2019. We were in Nicaragua digging wells right there in a impoverished town, and then days later RE2 came out. So it's pretty cool.
What is that like being in these towns when all these kids come up and they really don't see a whole lot of white people? And are they excited? Like, do they know what you're doing? Are they like, what are these guys doing here? Like, what's is it scary?
Well, they typically know. All these communities that we help, they know why we're there, and they're very excited to help. They're excited that the project is happening. They're excited that people outside of their community, outside of their country, give a they're taking interest in their problems and their life needs. And it's really life-changing because you get to see like really truly how a lot of the rest of the world live. And we have our middle class, our poor class here in this country, but some of those people, they don't even have clean drinking water. You know, even the poor class here, we can drink tap water and it's not going to kill you. But in Nicaragua, places like Cambodia that we just got back from, they do not have clean drinking water, and it's got toxins in it. It's polluted, and they're getting sick and they're dying, and they don't know any better because they don't have the education to know any better. And so you really get an appreciation for what we actually have in this country. And the kids tend to love us. You know, we really connect with the community, and that's half the project is really like the build and the struggles that we have on the build in these countries. And then the other half is how we connect with the community and how the project is important to that community. In Nicaragua, the well situation was they have a drought. The dry season is 6 months a year. During that 6 months a year, their hand-dug wells are not deep enough and they dry out completely. And they rely on the government to give them clean drinking water, which is about, I don't know, like maybe 50, like 100 gallons they get every 2 weeks for a family. 100 gallons. When you guys take a shower, we almost go through 100 gallons with one
Easily.
shower. So that's what I mean is like, you know, they have to spread that out for 2 weeks with a family. And that's for whether they bathe, do laundry, cooking, cleaning, drinking, and they can't. So they can't bathe much. They can't do much laundry during that 6 months. So we dug that community of 800 people. We dug them professionally a 180-foot well. We hit an aquifer underground, and that well never dries out. So all year round, 800 people have access to clean drinking water.
Yeah, that's so
that's
refreshing. No pun intended. You know what I mean? It's nice to hear.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that's awesome. You know, just helping people, man, because like you said, it's like sometimes it's like people like they don't have much, and it's always good to give back and help people out. You know what I'm saying?
Never a bad thing, ever, ever, ever.
So I wanted to go back to, you know, when you first got into acting. So I had seen that you did a lot of shorts, and then you had finally landed your first gig on 617, the series.
Yeah, 617. It's the area code
I'm sorry.
for the Boston
617.
area. Yeah. That was a long time ago. Wow, that's like blast from the past. About 2000.
So how was it, like, you know, going from, you know, just doing shorts to, you know, finally getting on a actual show? Because like we've had actors come up here before, and they always tell us that, you know, it's not real until, I mean, like it's real, but you know, you haven't really made it until you finally started, you know, appearing and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And gigs and good gigs.
It's a big grind. It's the acting industry and this path that we've chosen. It's not an easy one. It's really like takes a long time to see the fruits of your labor. It's really cool to book small projects and shorts here and there. You start off with like student films, then you get into small series like 617, and you just get it's all about perspective. You have to see every little thing, every little project that you book. You have to see that as a success and a milestone in and of itself, and you just keep moving forward. If your goal, when you start acting, if your goal is to become famous in a year, I would say don't quit your day job. You should probably try something else, because a lot of people get crushed having that particular type of goal. But as long as you want it for the right reasons, as long as you're prepared to be in it for the long haul, go for it. I don't want to deter you one bit, but it is going to be a challenge like anything else.
Well, let me ask you this, because I was watching an interview with a Virginia native, Constance Wu from Fresh Off the Boat and like Crazy Rich Asians. Now, she said she does not watch her material back, so she doesn't see her own movies or watch her own TV shows. What's your feelings on that? Like, are you eager to see it when it's released, or?
Yeah, everyone has a different take on that. I know a lot of people that do not like to watch their work for a variety of reasons. Me personally, the way that I learn in life, learn anything, is hands-on. I'm also a very analytical learner, and so I watch everything I do meticulously, and I look for ways to improve.
Good.
Because it helps me to understand the other side of the camera and editing choices and what works and what doesn't, and what expressive nuances play on camera that I have and which ones don't. So I watch them left and right, and that's how I've learned over the past like 200 some projects I've been a part of in the commercial world and on camera.
Yeah, I'll say, because I'm a professional wrestler, and I agree with everything that you said. It's always good to go back and check your work, because you can improve on stuff that you could do better on, or you might see something that hey, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to use that. And that's the only way that you're going to get better, is just by being your biggest critic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's just personally how I approach it, but a lot of people wouldn't agree with me. I'm glad you do.
Oh yeah, for sure, bro. I mean, like that's the only way you're going to get better. And if you don't look at your stuff, then it's like you say, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people too, I know specifically, not even just in her case, but in other people in general, they know they're just going to continuously tear it apart. Mm-hmm. So I guess they rely on other people to give them that feedback. You should have done this. You should have did
and
that.
That's a good thing too. Like, I know one wrestler was telling me before that it's like, you should never ask, hey, did I do good? Did I do that? You should always let other people come up to you and tell you themselves if you did good or not, because it's like, as long as you're doing good and people are giving you good feedback, then you'll always continue to grow. But at the same time, you do have to get that bad feedback, so that way you know what you need to work on. Yeah.
And like I said, when I watch my performances, I don't sit there and say, wow, that was damn good. That was a good line delivery. Like, I really pick apart. I look for the bad stuff, and I'm like, how can I improve next time? Mm-hmm. So it is definitely a critical exercise that I do for my work.
I love getting people on here that are like in the quote unquote performing arts field. Banks being a wrestler, me being, going from being in a group and performing on stage and touring to now just being a man on the boards and mixing and doing voiceover work for people and recording, and then you doing, voice acting and acting and stuff. It's really cool to get all these people in a room and chat about, the arts and things like that, versus people that work, a quote unquote regular day job and can't kind of relate to what it's like to do something, evaluate yourself, and then work on what you can to get better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there are parallels in almost any industry that you can think up and talk about. But the creative arts, they do have quite a bit in common, whether you're a musician or an actor or an artist. There's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of faith that goes with that, because I have a feeling like with the creative arts, when you start out, I think there is a lot of sacrifice. I know musicians who have been at it for 20 years, and they're trying to get that big break album going on, and there's just a lot of sacrifice, I feel, with the creative arts. Yep. And so that's one big thing we all have in common. It's like a common struggle, but we all understand.
You gotta love it to do it.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that drives you.
And you gotta spend money. You gotta spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna bust your ass to be good in any industry. Let's say you go for mechanical engineering. Mm-hmm. Great. You're going to bust your ass in school.
Right.
But the difference is you could get out of college and you could land a job that pays $150,000 a year.
Right.
That can happen much more easily than dropping a sick album and, touring the world. That's my little bro is 23 and he's in a band, and I think he's living that dream now. He just came out with his first album with this band, and, they're playing small clubs, but, that struggle is real, and I really hope they continue, because it's a passion of theirs.
Hey, give your bro a shout out so that way our listeners can check him out.
Yeah, so the band is called Somerset, Somerset. You could probably just Google them, just Boston band Somerset, and their stuff will come up. Their first album's on Spotify, and it's actually pretty decent. It's really, I was thoroughly impressed when I heard the quality of it. It's professionally mixed, and it sounds like something you just hear on the radio any other day. So I'm really proud of them.
Especially coming out of Boston, where it's such a rock and metal city. A lot of prominent bands have came from that area.
Yeah, it's kind of progressive rock. I don't know how I'd describe it, but super proud of them.
So a movie I wanted to bring up was The Haunting of Alice D. I saw that you starred in that with Kane Hodder.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was about 2011.
Yeah, how was it working with him, man?
Kane was a super cool dude. I mean, he did not have an ego. I mean, look at who he is. Like he's a legend in the horror world, and super nice guy. We would just hang out at night and then just shoot the shit. He would tell us stories about filming all the Jason movies and stuff, and yeah, that was good. That was a really good memory.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking too. I see Al Snow is in the movie as well. Like that's cool too.
I know you know who that is for sure.
Everybody wants some head, right?
He's that guy is like he's sharp as a tack. His wit is really funny. He cracks jokes faster than like a freaking lightning bolt. And so all of us hanging out together, like that was a really good time because we filmed that in a mansion in Rhode Island, and we slept over a bunch of nights. We filmed it, and it's just a fun shoot. Those are really, really good, fond memories I have.
Now, do you have any Kane stories?
I mean, I would have to think about that for a second. Plus, like any stories he told us in confidence, I don't know if he'd want those like reshared.
No, I just meant something that happened to
like
you guys on the set, like a funny story with them. Because my partner in crime over here,
are you talking about me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Has quite a funny story of
Mr. Hodder.
Yes, Mr. Hodder himself.
Well, your story is probably better than anything I could try to recall. It was 9 years ago, and I didn't know you were going to ask about that, but I would love to hear your story.
Okay, so what happened was me and my friend James, we went to this horror convention in Williamsburg, Virginia called Scares That Care, and I was wearing like this costume that I had made, and I was standing in the bathroom, and then like all of a sudden like I just hear like this voice, and I'm like man, like that voice sounds really familiar. And then I'm like, hey, I know who you are. You're Kane Hodder. And he's just like, yeah, that's me. And I was just like, man, like, can I shake your hand right now? He's just like, yeah. And like, I shook his hand after he finished peeing, of course. But, I just thought it was funny. I was just like, I didn't think that I was going to meet Jason in the bathroom because he walks in the bathroom. He's just like, that's something that you don't expect to see when you walk in the bathroom.
Because of your cosplay.
Because of my cosplay. Yeah.
Well, were you dressed up as him?
No, I was. I just made some.
It was like it's like a smiley killer.
What is it called when you create something that? It was an original costume. Right. There we go. Yeah, I just bought a mask.
It looked like something from The Purge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the best thing that you could compare it to The Purge. Yeah. And I was just standing in the bathroom with my mask on and my baseball bat.
That's his Mr. Hodder story of where'd you meet him? In the public bathroom.
But what made the moment even sweet was I had brought up this episode of the Wayans Brothers. Have you ever watched that show?
Back in the day, yeah.
Okay, hey, as long as you know what I'm talking about, I appreciate that. So,
of course. Yeah.
So I was talking about the Wayans Brothers episode where Marlon had met the mayor in the bathroom and shook his hand. And then Kane was like, well, at least I wasn't in the stall when I shook your hand. I was just like, oh, so you're a fan of the Wayans Brothers as well. It's always good because a lot of people don't talk about the Wayans Brothers like that no more. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's good, man. Well, that's a good story. But that sounds like that sounds just like him. Like I just remember that he was really, really down to earth and cool.
All right, so we're moving on, man. Kind of like fast forwarding a little bit where you're starting to get into a little bit more roles and stuff. When you start to transition from just strictly premiering in movies and stuff like that, and you really start getting into the voice things, how does that even work as far as maybe a video game company contacting you, or do you got to audition for those like you would a movie, or?
It's just like anything else. It all comes with auditioning, and that's a rigorous process sometimes. For Resident Evil, it took probably a good 3 auditions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got to be really picky because they know they need to know that they can work with you and that you're going to be able to like carry a whole game and be the right choice. And so they deliberate on that for weeks on end. And I'm just glad that they cast me. I think Resident Evil was the first straight up like VO gig I ever booked.
Right.
With the motion capture, of course, but I had never done it before. And then shortly after that, I started to really get the inkling to be in more games. And so I just started putting myself out there even more. And that's when I booked, I hooked up with a company that does Life is Strange. And, 3 games later, I've done that now. And I'm still auditioning hardcore. Like, just because I did Resident Evil, I'm just in the mix. Like, it's just one game. There are VO artists, really talented ones that have done 30 games,
right?
So it's a very competitive field, and I just hope that I can continue and be in a couple more big franchises, and then I'd be happy as a clam.
Now, and I know with certain video games like Resident Evil 2, for example, I feel like that this game was kind of hush hush, but it's like fans were speculating that it was coming out, but it's like there was nothing concrete that it was coming out. When you auditioned for the role, like, was it an audition for Resident Evil, or was it under like a code name or something?
Believe it or not, it was not under a code name. When it went live for the casting, games, I've almost never seen a game not be under code name. That's so people don't talk about it, and so they don't know it's coming out. There are always these like obscure code names. It could be like Donut,
yeah,
Donut King or whatever, and then it turns out to be like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So for some reason they released the name of this thing, and when I submitted for it, I saw it said Resident Evil 2, and I thought it was just like some kind of like a fan film.
Right.
I've done a couple. I've done some fan films or just whatever, and I didn't even know they were remaking it, to be honest, at the time in 2016.
Yeah.
So I saw it. I submitted for this thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm a huge fan. I would love to be in your project, whatever. And they got back to me, and I realized it was for the remake of the game with mocap, and I would be playing Leon, and that's when it got real. So I took it all seriously, and I did what I had to do to kick ass in that first audition because I needed a callback, and then after that, I wanted that third final round callback,
So, like, have you always been a fan of the Resident Evil series?
Since '98.
Since '98. So you was there with the original.
I started 2 years after the original came out. My friend at a sleepover introduced me to RE2 in '98 when it came out. I played that one, fell in love. Then I went back to play 1, and then I've played every one since. So yeah, it's by far, like, all my life, it's been my favorite series ever.
So when you played Resident Evil 2 for the first time, were you afraid when you played it?
Yeah, I was a lot younger, and a game like that really hadn't existed, like the survival horror. I was always playing like Street Fighter and like fighting games and Mario's and, like NES, Super Nintendo fighting games, but they weren't the same. When I got into Resident Evil, the graphics were better. The story was just darker. Like everything about it was so dark and gruesome, and you had to survive and stay alive, and that was so new and different to me at the time. And yeah, that's what I liked about it.
So it just sounds like that you got pretty far in this game the first time that you played it. Like, you didn't get scared to the point where it's just like, I can't play this anymore. Because that was me.
Actually, the only game that really did that to me, where a couple times I had to shut it off because it was like 4 a.m. and I was just scared, was Silent Hill, the original.
I still haven't played the Silent Hill series. I've only played the Resident Evil series.
Dude, that Pyramid Head is no joke.
He's no joke. Silent Hill was really disturbing. But I got to say, like, Nemesis, the original Nemesis, that gave me a lot of anxiety too, because like you're running around.
Even the cover.
He's like, yeah, but you're running around like the quiet streets of Raccoon City, and you might not have seen a zombie in a little bit, and like you're just doing this errand. You got to get the crank or something, and then all of a sudden, like, you just hear that like stars, and then you get the anxiety because like, shit, now I got to run away from this guy for a couple like a couple hallways or alleys, So the anxiety of Nemesis was really cool too.
Yeah, just busting through the walls and everything like that, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead and
say it, Trail.
That's what she said.
There you go.
It was tension. It just kept the tension in your body, and that's what I like in games.
Well, I'll say that was one of the things that I loved about Resident Evil 2, because Trav hasn't played it yet.
Yeah, I haven't played the remake.
He hasn't played the remake yet, but I was showing him videos of when I was playing it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you still get scared as a grown man playing this game?
Well, which one?
Anyone. Any game.
Actually, the last game to give me that same kind of anxiety was Resident Evil 7.
Yes, bro.
That was the
my
rebirth
God.
of Resident Evil too.
That first person view. Oh God, man.
It was awesome. I played it in VR, and it was terrifying running away from that family and Jack at the beginning. Like that just made my heart pound, and like I was flexing my whole body when those scenarios were happening, because like I didn't want to get caught, I didn't want to die, and I had no ammo, and it's just really tense. And that's what a game should be. That if you get a horror game like this, that's what you should feel.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I loved about Resident Evil 2, the remake, was that like there were a lot of moments where like I would probably only have like 2 bullets left, and I'm just sitting here running from all of the zombies and Mr. X. Like there were times, because like Mr. X would just pop up out of nowhere, and I'm just like, man, it's like I
can't fight him.
Yeah, I can't fight him. Like there was this one video I had showed Trav where I was running away from Mr. X, and I ran into this room, and there was a hunter in there. And then the hunter was chasing me, and Mr. X was chasing me at the same time. And like I said, I only had 2 bullets. So I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? I can either run, or I can use these 2 bullets and then die.
My favorite video was you got away from some zombies, and then you started walking down the hall, and you turned the corner, and there they were, and you spun right around and booked it, bro. And you can hear you yelling in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary. It's great scenarios. Like, I thought I was gonna hate the gimmick of Mr. X. I thought I was gonna hate that, and I actually grew to love it, because it just added like so much to your playthrough.
Yep.
Yeah, it did.
I loved it.
You had to be smart. You had to be smart when you were playing. It's like, you know, you had to conserve your ammo, know when to use your ammo, or you could just run.
Yeah.
And as I sit here patiently and wait for the new Last of Us to come out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever played that series.
No, I want to. That's another one I got to dive into.
The first one, man, is a treasure. I mean, it is amazing.
It'll make you cry.
It's an
sad,
emotional game. It's scary at times. It's so good. And the second one, I know, is going to really take the cake for it. You don't get that in video games nowadays. You know, that's what's so cool about the RE2 remake, was bringing it back. When's the last time you played a game and you actually ran out of bullets? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
It don't happen now.
I like that game style a lot. And I felt like in 7 and 7 I was really hurting for ammo in some areas of the game, and that's the way it should be.
Well, I can't remember what the dad's name was in 7, but there was this one time where I didn't have any ammo and all I had was a knife. And I'm just sitting here like, well, I'm just going to go down and I'm either going to die or I'm going to kill him. And I ended up killing him with the knife. And I think I was playing on the hard difficulty as well. And, you know, I feel like, you know, that anxiety that comes over you when you're playing, because it's just like, man, I don't want to die. But if we die, we can just always retry. But it's like, you know,
it's still a gamble, though.
It's a gamble, and it's intense. And like you said, Nick, like that's how games should be, and that feeling that you get from playing games like that.
Yeah, his name was Jack.
Jack, there we go. Thank you. And I
just loved his character. He was not even like a stereotypical like scary villain. Yeah, he had like this weird like New Orleans like is that what they're from? Louisiana, right?
Louisiana, yeah.
He just had like this Louisiana like charisma about him, and he was just like unimposing balding dude. But when you like shoot him in the face, he'd be like, "You Ethan." I don't know. I just think the family that they created, the psychos in that family, were just awesome.
No, it's definitely the resurrection of the series. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows I hate Resident Evil 5 and 6. Can't stand them.
I'll disagree with you there. I think I really thoroughly enjoyed 5, and the reason is, it was really strayed away from the roots of Resident Evil. However, it was a fun co-op game.
That's the only.
And I grew up playing these games with my little brother, especially, and that game was the only one that we could co-op together and play it split screen. And I just have so many millions of hours of memories playing that game in Mercenaries with my little brother, and so I will never say that I hate 5.
Yeah, bro, that's the same feeling that I get whenever I play Resident Evil 5. Like, me and my brother, we just played that game all the time. He wasn't really into the other Resident Evil games, but because this game had co-op and, he saw me playing and he was just like, hey, I want to play with you. So I will say that was one thing that I did like about 5, but 6 was just straight Call of Duty.
Yes, 6 strayed really far. They tried to keep the story and the canon together, and I thought there was interesting things about it. Is my favorite? No, of course not. But I appreciate their effort, and I'm just glad that they took some time and went back to the roots with 7.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Again, games will do that, right? I mean, you have Fallout 76 that really strayed away from what people liked about Fallout, and it did not get the good response that they
didn't
enlisted. So sometimes, man, it's that gamble. Do we want to keep giving you the same game but make it different in some way, or are we going to completely change the game that we give you? And that's what I didn't like. Was I don't like this big room of zombies, and then I just got
you
like
could gun them all down.
You could gun them all down. I had no anxiety playing 5 and 6.
Exactly. Yeah.
Versus.
I agree with you on that.
You're going around them dark rooms in the corridors, and it's scary. And
it's dark.
They'll scare you with just 2 or 3 zombies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
So how was your brother's reaction when he played the Resident Evil 2 remake and hearing your voice in the game?
Yeah, they were freaking out, my family, just because we're all big fans, and it was a surreal experience for them to play that and know that I was in it and stuff. But I don't think anything will beat the surreal feeling that I've had throughout this whole entire process.
Yeah, because
especially such an iconic character.
Yeah, exactly, and like you nailed it too. I mean, it's like you sound just like Leon from the original Resident Evil 2 game.
Yeah, I definitely have like a young spirit. Funny fact is Paul Haddad, who voiced the original,
right?
We were actually the exact same age in real life when we respectively recorded our roles. Yes,
that's wild.
So I think I was like 32 when we were recording, 33, and so was he. And so I just sound younger. I don't really have an imposing deep voice, and so he has a very crisp voice as well. And I've actually talked with him many times online. He's a really nice guy.
So now, I wanted to go ahead and get into the Life is Strange series like we were talking about earlier. Now, before you were in Before the Storm, had you played the series?
Believe it or not, I had heard of it, but no, I had never played it before, and I didn't really understand what it was all about. Look, the fan base is really it's becoming very deep and very loyal.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
It's not just those particular groups that like these games. Like, I mean, I'm a diehard like action, horror, like I like those genres in games and movies, and this is the farthest thing from it. And now that I've played like quite a few of these, like I have a giant appreciation for the games. I think they're very well crafted stories, and the fact that you really choose your whole entire adventure and how you respond to things. Yeah, they are. And so really, it's not. I wouldn't say it's just like a small group of people. I think they're expanding their audience and fan base, and there's a reason for it.
And like that's cool that and Before the Storm, you got to play a younger Frank Bowers, who was a very prominent character in the original Life is Strange game.
Yeah. I that was the first role I booked with them, and I really just leaned on my East Coast kind of like swagger and that kind of attitude. Now I'm not. He was a bit of like a stoner. Yeah, that's not really my personality. But I just leaned into that, like, he had a creep factor to him, and I think a stereotypical East Coast swagger kind of lends some qualities that really that work with that.
And I think the game. Another thing, like as I get older, I'm more enjoying games. A lot of the Telltale games.
Yeah, single player games.
I don't know if you played like Beyond Two Souls or Detroit Become Human, where there's really not a lot of quote unquote gameplay. It's more of it's story driven and you pick your course. It's like those books where you get to decide and you go to page 96 for this or 152 for that. And as I've gotten older, man, I just really it's kind of like playing through a movie.
It is kind of like that. It can be a cathartic experience. And that's kind of what Life is Strange has been for me. I did a couple streams of episode 2. I played through Captain Spirit, and the stories become, well, they're relatable because the reason they can reach such a big audience is because when you have so many choices to make, you make them kind of the way that you'd make them in real life.
Exactly.
And that's why people connect with these stories. It's like, oh, this fourth response I can do with this multiple choice, like that's something I would say in real life, you know?
Yeah, like every time I play games like that, it's like you said, these are choices like, what would you do? But it's always funny because it's like, sometimes it's just like, well, it's just a video game, so I'll just make this choice and it's not going to change anything. Like I know the Guardians of the Galaxy game that had came out, it's like, you know, that it's like at the end of the day, the Guardians are always going to be a team.
Right.
But in this game, it's just like, no, it's like certain choices that you make, the team can split.
Disband, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think games are getting really interesting now, and they're really putting a lot of time and effort into playing them, and genres are splitting up now. But it's really exciting. I wish I honestly had more time to play games. There's so many that I need to play, and I want to.
No, and I know we got to start wrapping this thing up and kind of let you get back to your day, and we appreciate you joining us. But before we do that, I just want to ask you one more question. You mentioned, you know, growing up and really getting into Resident Evil and stuff like that, and now you've kind of put your hand into the hat of, I want to do this and that and stuff. Even if a series isn't even around now, let's just say it's a game they're not going to really redo or something like that. What is like some of your dream, man? If they did this game, I would love to be a part of it or something like that you grew up loving and enjoying.
Well, there's a ton. I mean, I have like a wish list. Like I would essentially want to be in all of the series that I was playing as a kid in some way, shape, or form. That would be like a big honor for me. I would love to play like Casey Jones in a good Turtles game.
Yeah.
I would love to be in a Castlevania, in a Mega Man, and maybe like a Street Fighter would be really cool.
Dude, I could
Metroid.
Hey, not to cut you off, man, but I'm looking at your picture, obviously, and because it's your thing on Skype. I could see you being a Casey Jones, though.
Yeah.
You know, like you kind of have a Casey Jones look to you.
Oh, if you go on my Instagram, I posted like Halloween. You know, now that I've started like cosplay and I did my Leon and stuff, Halloween was always one of my favorite holidays because I could fabricate like a cool costume and really go all out. If you scroll down on my Instagram, maybe like 25 to 30 posts down or something, you'll see one right in the middle that says origin story, and it's a video. And if you click on that, you're going to see why or how much I actually like Casey Jones. You should check that out.
Yeah, no, because we're both huge. I mean, we've podcasted on the Turtles. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, he's my favorite character. He's that guy. Yeah. He was like, he became a legend in the original, in like the 1991 movie.
Right.
And then they just never really capitalized. Like, he was such a cool character.
Yeah.
And Elias Koteas is the actor who portrayed him.
Right.
And if you look at some of my photos, he's a fellow Greek guy, and I actually look just like the dude.
I know, and that's what I was saying. You reminded me of him just if he had today's look. You know what I mean? But and it's crazy because he was in a vampire movie like 10, 15 years ago. And I saw him and I was like, dude, and he's old, obviously. He's
like, that's Casey Jones.
He's like 20, 25. No, at first I looked at him and I was like, I don't know what else I've seen this dude in, but I know I've seen him. I looked up the movie and I was like, holy crap, it's Casey Jones plus 20 years. Like, it was crazy.
Well, bro, like, that's just like in that Halloween Town movie. And, and I can't remember her name, but she was April O'Neil in the original Ninja Turtles movie. And when I first saw Halloween Town, I was just like, that's April O'Neil.
Yeah, crazy.
But we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. Nick, we just want to say thank you again for joining us on today's episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And before we let you go, tell everybody in social media land where they can find you at.
All right, on Twitter, you can find me at a handle where I spelled my name wrong. I don't know why I did this, but it was intentional. It's just NIK, who knows why, _Apostolides. And that's just APOSTOLIDES. And then for Instagram, you can just hit me up at Nick _APOS. That's it.
Ooh.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate you coming on. Like, he had said, we've been trying to organize this thing since October, man. So, and you are a man of your word. You know,
we
you said you were going to come on, and you did, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your patience, guys, and also thanks for the interest in having me on. It means a great deal, and I hope that the fans like it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They always do. All right, Nick, we'll talk to you later, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Be sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video and get notified every time we upload a new one by subscribing and ticking the bell icon. You can also listen to the full episode by searching for Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks on your favorite podcast app. If you'd like to help support more great content like this, be sure to check us out on Patreon. We'll have the link posted in the description below. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks.